Okay, let's get this into focus. We're looking at our pistol frame, receiver, whatever you want to call it. Again, I've saved you the boredom of watching me do this. But if you look here at the trigger bar, let's see if we can get her into focus real good. It's kind of hard on my back, but let's get this into focus. Okay, focus now. Okay, this part right here engages the plunger. You want to buff that out with your green. I keep saying green because we're not going to blue yet. Your green jeweler's rouge, buffing compound, or whatever you want to call it, polishing compound. And then, if you notice here, go on and focus. See if she'll get into focus. Well, but you'll see there where the sear rides on that hump right there. Now let's see if we can get a little better view here. There we go. Gotcha. You can see where the sear rides on that little hump. That's the hump that engages that first part that we did. And you notice that glossy finish that I put on. See that glare on that hump? That'll take, if you've got a gritty trigger, that'll take a lot of it out. Grittiness in more ways than one on a trigger is because of two surfaces making contact with each other and they have been roughed up during the machining process or forging process. It doesn't hurt if you want to go ahead and pretty this up down here too. That goes inside your that slide. It doesn't engage the sear at all. It just sits underneath there as a. But this spot here, buff that out with your green polishing compound. Porter cable, I don't know, you can use jeweler's rouge fine for soft gold and silver is what I use, or what you can use. And then buff this part right here out, this little ridge, all the way up to that right there. This back bow doesn't have anything to do with anything. And then buff that up nice and shiny. This stuff down here doesn't, you know, if you were going to change out your springs or something like that, you'd mess with down here in the springs, but I'm not messing with any springs today. We're just dealing with a basic trigger job using factory setup. No aftermarket parts other than the barrel. And let's go on to the plunger. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the firing pin and the plunger from your top of your pistols. It's kind of like the G word, a Glock. But let me cut this and I'll go ahead and get to it. Well, I don't need to cut it. What we're going to do here is use where are you at? Number 2 punch. It doesn't matter if it fits, it works. Hit this bad boy right here. Okay. Now you see right here that piece of plastic that fits underneath. You'll push it down, and that takes the pressure off this back. Let's see if I can get her here. That right there. Push it off. Let it fall out. Part's bend. Don't want to lose that. Now if you hit this right here, point it down. Yeah. There you go. Came right out. We're not going to do anything to that because this is the new style firing pin striker, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's a striker. The new style striker. I don't want to mess with that. Again, this is a new production gun, and whatever Smith & Wesson did there, they thought it was a good idea. So we're going to leave it alone because we don't, you know, if you want to polish here, it'd be okay. Right there on that top. Don't take any material off. And if you want to polish that hook right there, if you've got a new style trigger, you can do that. Now if you have a new style striker, I'll show you here. The old style, let me go get one real quick. I've got an old style striker over here if I can find it. No? That's the same thing too. That's an old style 45 striker assembly. They look almost identical, but they're not. There's different specs and tensions and things like that in their lengths. But this is my 45. I don't want to get it mixed up. It's the gray. It's the new style striker. This is my new 9mm striker, probably a 40. Is the same thing, and it's a whitish translucent. So I'm going to put this one back out of the way. This old 45. I was hoping it had a different contour to it, a different style, but it's the new style as well. Okay, get back on topic. Let's we've got our plunger out, or gosh, here it goes. Our striker out of here. We'll just go ahead and throw it in our parts bin. We don't need it. Now I'm going to pause it here for a minute because I'm going to get that out of there. What I'm going to do is let me see if I can angle the camera down a little bit so I can get a better view of what's going on here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my screwdriver it's a little fat 89-cent screwdriver from Walmart. Put a little masking tape on the end of it. And I'm going to put this in my padded vise. Again, I just used a cheap piece of old tool leather that I picked up. And I'm just going to set it down in my vise like this. I'm not going to bore you with taking the sights off because it's pretty elementary. It's going to sit there like that in my vise, and I'm going to punch the... Now what you do want to make sure of is whenever you take this back sight off, there's going to be a little metal disc there, and I'll show you. I'll get it to the point. Let me go ahead and just keep rolling here and I'll just transfer it to my vise and then I'll show you what I'm talking about in the process. We're going to take this Allen little 1/8 inch set screw out, and be careful, parts bin. I'm really repetitive about the parts bin, and I'm a true believer in them because I've had guys, oh, where'd that spring go? Where'd that go? Well, if you'd had a little parts bin, you wouldn't have lost it. So let me talk you through this. Again, I'm going to get off camera here and do this while I'm talking. But I'm going to use this. I'm going to set that down on my vise. I'm going to punch this. I'm going to drift this back. And it goes one way, from left to right. If you go right to left, left to right. If you go right to left, you're going to be there all day. And I tell you why, because this is a beveled cut there on the dovetail. And it'll only go one way. It'll only go that way, left to right. So if you're looking at the back of the pistol, you're going to push it that way. Now again, there's a lot of little fancy tools and this and that, but you know, brand X makes a M&P rear sight tool. A lot of guys believe in them. You know, they work, but you know, it's all a matter of who makes the better wheel, or you know, a lot of people nowadays in today's gunsmithing tools. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my little sear in my parts bin. Don't want to lose that. I'm just going to touch basis on this. A lot of today's, and you may not care to hear it, I don't care, it's just something that's on my mind. A lot of today's companies are reinventing the wheel when it comes to products. You know, I've got again, I've showed you my trigger pull gauge. It's a cheap wheeler, and I say cheap because more than likely it's made in China. But guess what? Get a lineman, and I bet 99, I'd be willing to bet you $20 it's made in China. Same craftsmanship, you know. I'm gonna drift this back side out. But all I gotta say, you don't have the tools for this. You just barely passing that bad boy out past the point that it's gonna go. show you here in a minute. Okay, got it. Now you're just barely tapping. I know it sounds like I'm pounding on it, but I'm 3 inches from the mic, so maybe 6. Now, this is what you're going to be looking at. You're going to tap that thing to where it looks like that, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show you why. There's going to be a little disc under here that if you let that rascal go, that spring, and I don't know what they call that thing, plunger spring detent or something like that, that sucker's going to come flying out of there. So what you're going to do, you're going to get your flat bladed knife, get about 6 links on it, sit it right down in that dovetail, push the sight out, and I hope to goodness I don't do it sitting there talking to you. Let's go ahead and put our thumb over it. There we go. See how it just kind of falls out? And this stuff here is going to want to come out. Let's go ahead and put that blade aside for now. Just let that come out. That's your little disc that fits on top of there. Remember how all this stuff came out, because you got to put it back together. Well, how many times I've had guys come over, bring me a bag of gun parts and a frame and this and that, and say, look what I done. I'm like, yeah, I see what you did. There's a little disc there that sits on top of that stuff, parts bin, little spring, your fingers can grab it. Well, mine just happened to have the plunger come out with it. We're going to work on it next. That's why we did all this mess. Went to all this trouble to get to this plunger. We're going to change the geometry of it slightly. Got that out of the way. There's a little plunger. I've already polished this up just pre-video just to make it a little easier, because I don't want to be spending 20 minutes here. Now this is where we get into a situation of, we've got, let's see if this one will work. This is a 3/32 punch. I'm going to show you something. It's kind of a neat, helpful tip. That fits perfectly on there. See how that slides around? That's what we want whenever we're working on this grinder or this buffing wheel. We want this to turn freely inside that. Now you don't want to use something like this too small that wobbles around in there. See that? Hear that clicking? You want something that's going to fit about like a sleeve. Kind of moves around. I mean, there's a little play in there, but it's not enough to make a difference. And I'm going to give you another little tip. Get a Sharpie. I didn't mention this on my, you have to excuse me, I didn't get this on my necessities here for this project. Make you a little mark somewhere. It's not going to make any difference. You're not going to see it anyway. Make you a little mark right there. See that little mark? That's going to be your reference point whenever you're doing this buffing. A lot of people say, well, I don't need to make a reference point. Well, let me tell you something. This sucker gets going at, what, 800 to 900 RPMs, faster than the human eye can, perceive. That thing's going to look like it's sitting still. It's going to look like it does right now. If I can get a little closer, it's going to look just like, it's sitting still on that thing. And the only way you would know if it's taking any material off is if you can feel the vibration on this punch here. So let's get to the top. Let's get to the matter at hand, and we'll get over to our buffing wheel. We're just going to leave our frame there. It doesn't have any parts in it anyway. And I'm going to transfer you over to my buffing wheel and show you how to do this little baby there.